why don't we start off with, I think it was maybe around 2004, that somewhere around 2004, your adrenals were totally shot.
Yes.
You had autoimmune
Hmm.
disorders. You had tried Western medicine and you
Hmm.
weren't getting better. I think then you started to find, herbal medicine, nutrition. I'm
Hmm.
not sure which came first, but you went down this pretty long path and you became so passionate about it. Your list of, credentials and certifications and trainings, I just kept getting more and more excited because that's most of the stuff that I'm the most into as
Hmm.
well. So yeah, how did it all start? You got really, really sick.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens to most of us, right? When we dedicate our lives to the healing profession, is that we learn from our life experience. And I think that I was starting to get symptoms a little bit before 2004 when I finally crashed, but I wasn't aware of it. And the doctors definitely were not aware of it either. But looking back, now that I educated myself and I know so much of the symptoms, it's like, well, I have hypoglycemia at 25. That's a big sign. I was overworking, working 80-hour weeks. I mean, it was, I had a child at the same time. I was maintaining an 80-hour job. And then on top of baby. So there were a lot of signs. I started getting a lot of colds that got complicated. They turned into bronchitis and one after the other. And nobody could tell me what was wrong. But my immune system, as you could see, it was already declining. And then, of course, they gave me antibiotic after antibiotic,
Oh,
which made my immune system even worse. And finally, a doctor told me, you should stop taking the antibiotics and take probiotics. I didn't even know what probiotics was at that time. And I did that. And then about a month later, all of a sudden, it's like, why can I get up in the morning? I mean, I have never been a person that you say, oh, she's lazy or she's demotivated. I'm like a type A. I call myself a recovering type A
hmm.
because I tried to let it go, but then it comes back. Um, and so for somebody that's always going and doing and having projects and goals, for me not being able to get up in the morning, like struggle, like shake myself. It's like, how do I get out of the bed? I'm so tired. I just want to continue sleeping. And then just going through the day, I was dragging, falling asleep in the afternoons. I just felt exhausted. And I think one day I just picked up my baby who was less about a year old and it just fell off my arm. So I didn't even have the strength to pick him up, which is not that heavy a baby. And I realized, something's wrong with me. So I started going towards conventional medicine, and everybody kept saying, it's in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. They did all the blood work and all the tests. And back then, autoimmune disorders were not as popular as they are now. Of course, they existed, but it was neither as adrenal fatigue. It was more, you had to have like Addison's disease in order to be categorized as adrenal exhaustion. And I was very close looking back to it. But the doctor said, you're just borderline on everything. Your hormones are fine. Everything's fine. It must be in your head. You must be depressed. That's what it is. And I said, well, it's just that I want to move. I want to do things and I can. By then, I had already started studying at the School of Healing Arts. That's where I met John, your dad. And so I was just getting involved in the natural medicine. And I said, well, if conventional medicine can't help me, maybe natural medicine can. And so I started looking with my teachers and said, have you seen anything like this? And I think it was Julie Punklet that said, it sounds to me like you have adrenal exhaustion. And I'm like, oh. So I started taking herbal supplements and I started like trying to heal myself spiritually as well. But once you're ready to heal, everything comes like like a freight train, right? So it was, I started getting panic attacks and I'm like, what is this? I didn't even know what a panic attack was. All of a sudden, it's like my heart was just, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack or I was going to pass out. I was getting a lot of dizzy spells. And I'm like, I'm going crazy. I don't know what's going on. So then I went to see a psychologist to see like what's wrong with me. And she said, yeah, it's panic disorder. And then coupled with the adrenal exhaustion that you have is it's getting worse. And so they helped me deal with my past, and we all have a past, right? And mine was a little bit on the complicated side. Not only, like I said, I was overworking. I grew up in an abusive environment, and it was just not a pretty environment. So I really push my adrenal glands my entire life until that happened, that I was 30. And yeah, it was the point that it was no turning back. I needed to just take care of myself. And as a type A, you always try to push no matter what's going on in your life. But I think life just needed to give me that awakening, because I literally got to the point where, well, if you can't get out of bed, you can't go to work and you can't do anything. So I was forced to just rest for about 9 months. That's all I could do, just sit there and rest, not even watching TV. So I couldn't even have distractions that normal people, because what I learned is your TV is stressful. And when your adrenal glands are shot, you don't have the adrenaline to support watching a movie or a TV show that has violence in it. You just feel like, oh my God, it just throws you into a spin. You don't have those hormones available for you. And I ended up, like, if I wanted to watch something, it had to be like the cooking channel, right? And back then there were not reality shows like now. There's competition, so there was no stress on cooking shows or like HGTV, like selling stuff. So it's about all I could do. But like I said, most of the time it just sent me more inwards. Like the only thing I could do was meditate, study more spirituality, be open to, okay, what's going on. Finding my life purpose was ideal. That helped me to figure out, oh, this is what I meant to be. I always love helping people. I always study herbs, but not professionally. So I needed to follow my passion and discover what it was, and also allow myself, it's okay to not work yourself to exhaustion. You're not lazy. I had to redefine the concept of lazy or productivity. But just in general, I became more spiritual, a lot of meditation, a lot of schooling. I went to, as I healed 9 months later, I was able to walk a little bit more, because I couldn't even walk a couple of 100 feet. I got exhausted. So at the nine months point, I actually went back to school and I was able to walk 2 blocks. And then at the year point, I was able to walk 5 miles, eventually doctors did recognize what I had. And they said, you're never going to be the same. You're always going to be, this is a lifetime of a suffering for you. And of course, they wanted to give me medication, cortisol supplements and stuff like that, which I didn't take. I regenerated myself with spirituality, counseling, all the herbs that I learned. Adaptogens were key for me, and healthy eating, which I didn't know that healthy eating was so important. And so that's how I regenerated my body. And I can tell you that most people don't know that I suffer from that. And I sometimes don't even remember that I did. My body seems to be working great. I take care of myself though, because I know that if I already did it, I can go that direction again. And so that's why I call myself a recovering type A, because every day is an awareness of what are you going to do to take care of yourself first. And then if there's time, then work comes second.